Ukraine says it carried out large-scale drone attacks on multiple air bases, including some thousands of miles inside Russia. It says Operation Spiderweb caused $7 billion in damage.
Major breaking news out of Eastern Europe. Ukraine just pulled off one of the boldest attacks of the entire war. Deep inside Russia's borders. I'm talking about Operation Spiderweb, a drone strike that left billions of dollars in damage. I'm going to break down what happened, why it's a huge game changer, and what this means for the future of the conflict. Stay tuned and hit that subscribe button if you're new here.
A Ukrainian military source said multiple combat planes were destroyed in the attack. Russia has confirmed there was an attack, but is giving few details.
Yup, you heard that right. Ukraine says it's taken out multiple Russian air bases thousands of miles inside Russian territory. And get this, not just near the war zone, but even as far away as Siberia. Let's hear what CNN's Sebastian Shukla reported about how bold this operation really was.
A Ukrainian military source said multiple combat planes were destroyed in the attack. Russia has confirmed there was an attack, but is giving few details. CNN's Sebastian Shukla is following the developments for us. Sebastian, what are you learning about this attack?
Fred, this is a really audacious attack which has been carried out by Ukraine's intelligence services known as their SBU, and it appears on Sunday they launched from multiple places inside Russia, the key here being inside Russia, attacks on Russian air bases housing strategic military aircraft, things that would go into the sky for surveillance and monitoring purposes and reconnaissance above the skies of Russia and over Ukraine. You can see a first-person view, from the drone that shows these planes and drones hitting these planes on airfields or in airfields inside Russia. Ukrainians have managed to do is damage some 40 aircraft, as you say, left billions of dollars of damage here for the Russians.
This is what makes Operation Spiderweb different from all the drone strikes we've seen before. Until now, Ukraine's attacks on Russian targets have been launched from Ukrainian soil. But this time, they launched drones from inside Russia itself. That's a whole new level of military intelligence and coordination.
A Ukrainian military intelligence operation to launch drones into Russia, but those drones took off from inside Ukraine. So this marks a major change. We've also seen the Ukrainians been able to push back the Russian Navy in the Black Sea, which has also allowed them to protect their coastline, the Ukrainians to protect their coastline and attacks coming from sea into Ukraine. But this coming from inside Russia is a real game changer, and it will send a message to the Kremlin.
And it gets even crazier. Russia just carried out one of its biggest assaults on Ukraine days before this, using drones and missiles. So this Ukrainian counterattack feels like a calculated, brutal response. But what does this mean for the peace talks happening tomorrow in Turkey?
I was talking to a friend of mine who is Russian, talking to a relative in Moscow, and saying that even the psychological effect of this is quite big, because that friend in Moscow was saying the war has come to Moscow. Look at the map of Russia and you see where they hit. It's quite astounding. I mean, I think everything that he said is correct, especially from launching it inside of Russia. That meant that they had to get these drones in there, and some details are coming out in the media that will probably have to be confirmed, but it's actually, I could almost use the word creative in the way they did it, very innovative. If you have 40 planes, and these are bombers and intelligence planes, et cetera, that is really huge. And I think also, you have to, again, put it in context. Tomorrow, both sides will be meeting in Istanbul. And this attack comes just days after Russia launched the biggest attack on Ukraine.
Imagine the fear this strikes into everyday Russians. War, no longer just on the TV, but at their doorstep, thousands of miles away from Ukraine. And it couldn't come at a worse time for Russia's negotiating team.
The Ukrainians have set out their position, and what they think, ceasefire first, and then a long-term solution to the conflict. The Russians have yet to really be precise, but we pretty much know what they're going to say. It's not the ceasefire first. It's this, root causes, as they call it. And what they want is all of Ukraine, essentially.
And here's where things get even more complicated. With President Trump now back in office, lawmakers in D.C. are pushing for tougher sanctions on Russia. But will he actually go through with it?
Senators who are talking about increased sanctions, and really very serious sanctions. And it's a bipartisan push for new sanctions. But the question is, will President Trump do that? I think if they did what they're talking about, which are called secondary sanctions, in other words, other countries that would buy energy, oil, gas, et cetera, from Russia would be sanctioned. Now, who are those countries? China and India, primarily. That could really hurt Russia.
Massive drone strikes, escalating sanctions, and peace talks hanging by a thread. Operation Spiderweb could be the start of a whole new phase in this war. What do you think? Could this push Russia to back down, or only make them hit back harder? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for all the latest updates you won't see on cable news. See you in the next one.